Hello, friends. Welcome back to Betamax Blocker. Just about to give my friend Steve Lewis a call. We'll see if Steve will accept the charges for this call so I won't have to pay anything. Steve, are you there?
The collect call? Who's calling me collect? Oh, wait a minute. There's
Betamax
only one guy
Blocker.
that calls me collect. I know who it is. Yeah, I'll take it. Hey,
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
good. How are things? Should we just do this on Zoom, you think?
Uh, I don't know.
All right.
Let me find the Zoom button on my phone.
All right. Sounds good. I'll
Oh,
look too.
oh,
Hey,
there you are. You're right in front of me.
I think we got it.
I think we did. So that might have been a bit of a weird opening sketch, but that'll fit right in with the content of today's video because we are doing Weird and Unusual Beach Boys songs part 3. In part 1, we took the albums Surfin' Safari through Holland, and we picked out what we thought was the most unusual song, or the song that didn't quite belong. Remember, of course, just because a song is different than its peers doesn't make it bad. And then for part 2, we did the same thing, finding the odd man out from 15 Big Ones up through That's Why God Made the Radio. So Steve and I were in agreement quite a bit, and there were a few instances where we went in different directions with what we thought was the most unusual or random song on the album. So today we have the much anticipated part 3. We'll be hitting some live material, some archival collections, and a few of those albums that are kind of sort of Beach Boys albums, depending on who you ask. So I think it'll be a real fun video. I'm looking forward to it. Steve, what do you think? Anything I left out?
I have fantastic opening. Thanks for having me back on again. It was a lot of fun last time. I'm looking forward to this time as well.
Hey, thanks for being on. I appreciate it. So our both our watchers really enjoyed the last two parts. So I'm hoping they
Great.
enjoy these
And
ones
and I
today as
might
well.
I might just mention that I'm not in my familiar basement because for some reason the Wi-Fi wasn't working down there today. So forced me to come up out of the depths and actually be outside on a nice summer day. So thanks for thanks for that indirectly.
So today we have the Beach Boys porch with Steve
Yes,
Lewis.
the Beats Boys. Yes, exactly.
Speaking of porches, Steve, in an alternate universe, your channel could have been called the Pendletones Porch with Steve Lewis.
Oh yeah, has a nice
As
ring to it.
we're going to start our discussion today with those pre-Beach Boys tracks, songs by the Pendletones, Kenny and the Cadets, whatever you want to call them there. So when it comes to very early Beach Boys recordings, pre-Surf and Safari album, Becoming the Beach Boys is the most comprehensive set. But you can find these on other sets too. Of course, the Lost and Found, and there are also some of those really wacky public domain-ish sets there. Steve, you hold up your Lost and Found CD.
Lost and found.
Yeah. So you have the yellow one. I have the one with the them on the like the Honda on the cover. So I like that.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah, lots of different
I
ways.
had some of those other early ones, and when this came out, I believe this is the one where they said it's every sound that they made. The tapes are complete. This is the ultimate set. And at the time it was, so I got rid of all the sort of off-brand ones that I had prior.
Yeah, those off-brand ones are weird because the Beach Boys never did Balboa Blue or Surfer
Yeah, yeah,
Stomp or things like that. So
right,
yeah,
right.
but now of course Becoming the Beach Boys is the most comprehensive. Steve, what do you think of these early kind of pre-Beach Boys tracks? What stands out to you as weird or unusual?
You know, this one, and I hate to start out with like a pass, but I couldn't really come up with anything I thought was like odd man out on this because it's so comprehensive and treats the material so well and so well constructed that there's really nothing that stands out on this issue. Now, here, of course, the odd man out or the odd track was Lavender, simply because we'd never heard it before. That it was like this, Beach Boy track that had been in the can for all those years. So I'd be interested to see your take on this one. I just couldn't come up with anything that seemed to stand apart from the rest. But here, Lavender, in a good way, stood out because it was a new release.
That's a really good answer. And Brian Wilson, in his book, wrote a lot about lavender and how it started as a poem and this and that. So that's an interesting pick. I went with What Is a Young Girl Made Of because on the CD set, a couple of the early demos don't have any actual Beach Boys singing on them. They have a different singer. And
Ah,
the booklet doesn't specify. I don't think he's ever been positively identified who it was. But that really stood out to me on my last listen through.
I'll have to see what I can find out about that. I hadn't,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it's Val Polito who had sung for the Jaguars. I know he was on some of these recordings, but
Oh,
I
was it?
don't I
Okay.
don't I don't
Okay.
know that that's ever been
Yeah.
confirmed or not.
I'll have
So
to check Jim Murphy's book if anybody knows it's Jim Murphy.
yeah, he would. So he would know. But
Yeah.
I didn't know. So but yeah, that was odd. They'd have these demos, these early Beach Boys songs without any Beach
Yeah,
Boys
that's a good
singing on them.
call.
So
Yeah,
yeah, something different there.
for
All
sure.
right. We're gonna jump ahead a couple years now. Now, from Hawthorne, California, to entertain you tonight with a gala concert and a recording session, the fabulous Beach Boys.
Yeah.
All right, Beach Boys concert. What do you think, Steve?
You know, I think the odd track out on this is Hawaii because it's hits, you know, a few live hits, and then songs that they hadn't recorded before. And Hawaii, in from that point of view, because Hawaii, you know, was not a hit single, and it's a track they'd already recorded. So on that basis, I mean, In My Room was never an A side, but it still charted at 23 or something as the B side of Be True to Your School. So on that basis, I thought Hawaii was the odd track out.
Okay, I went with I Get Around because that one is so obviously not from the Sacramento shows. On the CD, especially, you can hear the cut between the intro and the actual
Yeah,
song starting. Sounds so artificial. Now, of
it
course, it's
really
not the
does.
only song on here to do that, but to me, it's the one that really stands out. The one you can tell is has been
Yeah,
doctored up quite a bit.
right. Yeah, I always wondered if that's really supposed to be live. How in the hell did they do the hand claps and keep talking at the same time? 'Cause they are really talented.
There you go. Have a third hand hidden under their shirt or something.
Right,
I don't
right, yeah.
know. So, for all of you watchers out there, this is very informal. Steve and I didn't sit down and make a big list of rules. We didn't have a precise definition of weird we had to use. We didn't have things like, oh, we can't have ties or we can't change our minds. But there was one album or one project that I knew we'd have to discuss before we actually sat down to do this and kind of get on the same wavelength. And with its happy album display piece, it'll sell 1 million units in January. Little project called Smile, or the Smile Sessions in this case. So Steve and I are going to take Smile in 3 parts. We're going to do the 2 LP set, the small box, and the big box. So, you know, if we just said pick something from Smile, we could both go in totally different directions with that. We could pick things that have been bootlegged or made in AI that aren't available widely. There are other Beach Boys releases like Hawthorne, California, and the Wake the World collection that have Smile takes that weren't used on these box sets. So that's kind of a different territory too. We could get into Smiley Smile, Sunshine Tomorrow stuff. So we limited it to those 3, the LP, small box, big box. So Steve, go ahead and
Well, you know, we talked about doing it that way, and then because I only have the box, which I left in the basement. Uh, when we talked about doing it that way, I then had to look up what was on the 2 LP set, and I found it really difficult to see anything that really didn't belong in that sequence. So I think you could take, I'd have to, you know, I'd pick any one of the bonus tracks, the stereo mixes or the, you know, session highlights, but that was another really difficult one.
it was funny. I took kind of the same avenue and I said that because despite being a gatefold 2 LP set, there's only really one full record and then half of the next of actual Smile music. And that whole ending, it's interesting stuff, session takes and things like that. But yeah, it doesn't really fit. And because of that, you can't really say the Smile album is a 2 LP set per se, kind of like the Sounds of Somerset they did a couple years ago, where the last side was like decorative, and it's like you can't
Right.
really say it's a full 6 records. So yeah, the takes that stood out to me were the Cabanescence sessions and the Surf's Up sessions. So kind of
Yeah.
on the same page, I think, with
Yeah.
that one, of course.
Yeah.
And I should add for our watchers real quick too, we also did not consider anything from Brian Wilson Presents Smile.
Yeah. We have
either.
to do, Brian. Maybe we could do solo albums sometime. That would be a nice.
Steve, I know you want to talk all about looking back with love, but we'll have to just save that for another day. Everybody's
That could be a
favorite.
lot of fun, though. Actually.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely something.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about the small box or jump right into the big
Yeah, the
box? Or
small box again. It was a little bit difficult. I understand that they've got the Capital promo on there is a hidden bonus track.
yep.
So I went with that just because it's odd man.
Okay. So this was the one. I was in college in 2011. I knew full well I wouldn't be able to afford that big set. So this was the one I bought when it was new. Actually, I think I have the insert here too. I went with Cool Cool Water because they only include one take and it's version 2. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of weird because they didn't include version 1, nor do they have any other Cool Cool Water material. So when
Oh,
I was
okay.
listening through it again, it felt kind of random. I love Cool Cool Water, but it's
Yeah.
weird just to have kind of one injection of it and then these
Right. Right.
I have so much fun with the Smile promo stuff, though, you know. And I remember when
Yeah.
Field Flows got postponed, everyone kept posting on like the Beach Boys forums and stuff. They'll sell 1 million units in
Oh,
June.
yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
So
great.
I guess we shouldn't laugh at that. And then let's talk. The 2 LP set, of course, is available in the big box too. But take me through the jumbo box here. What do you think?
Well, my thought on that was because it's so comprehensive that the question is not so much it becomes more of a question of what's the strangest thing Brian did during that period rather than what's the strangest thing on the album, because everything's there, if
Mhm.
you follow me. So, on that basis, Teeter Totter Love by Jasper Daly, I think, is the strangest recording on that box set.
Okay, that's a good answer. I went with the psychedelic sounds take underwater chant, where they're just saying
Ah,
things like shark, water, dolphin, swim, and that even by Smile standards, that really stood out as something like
yeah,
what would they even have done with that? I
yeah,
don't know. Like some of the weird takes of them laughing and stuff, I get because they could use that on vegetables or another song,
right.
but the weird stuff about shark, 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 I don't know what that was. So
That would have been. I actually considered that one. That would have been my second.
yeah. Okay. So
That's
I
cool.
don't know. It's certainly different, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
been the smile segment of it. So you can comment below with smile tracks that you think are unusual or what they should or should not have included on the LP or on any of those sets. So smile is a whole can of worms, but
Oh yeah.
that's all we're
It
gonna
was
get into
a
today.
tough one for this format, I thought.
Yeah, so a little bit different there. So let's go to kind of a different kind of unusual, really one of the first big failures of the Beach Boys' career. Steve, talk to me about instrumentally Stacko tracks.
Daco tracks. Another one that was kind of difficult. My call as odd man out on this was Surfer Girl, because though it, a big hit and a track that people would want, it doesn't. The backing is so basic and simple compared to the other things on here. It's not like with so many of these, you're seeing, all the beauty that went into that backing track and all the little details and things. There, though it's beautiful, it's not got the complexity of the other backing tracks that are included.
That's a good thought. I didn't think of that. I went with Little Saint Nick because it was the only Christmas song. To me, it
Mm,
kind of stood out as unusual. Of
yeah,
course, we know that there are best of collections at the time. Those, of course, included random Christmas songs in them too. But I don't know, it just stood out to me. So,
yeah, that's a good call.
does yours still have the music book?
Oh yeah,
All right.
this thing at the time, I got this in 1980. I'll tell you the story of this. Like I'm really so. I went looking for all the uh, all the '66 and later stuff was still in print in 1980. Anything '65 or earlier, all the Capitol, that was all out of print. And I went to Detroit, which is 30 miles from here, looking for the early Beach Boys stuff. And I walked into the first store that I walked into. Somebody had apparently just come in and sold their entire Beach Boys back catalog, including stack of tracks. And sorry, somebody's mowing their lawn next door. And So I picked everything up, got this for $8. It was like $2 more than the rest of them.
Hmm.
I picked everything up and thought, oh, well, it's just easy to get this stuff. And didn't realize until later that this is at least theoretically a rare album. And all that stuff was so difficult to find. I got it first try, first day.
There you go.
It took me so long to realize how lucky I was, and with the book.
Yeah, yeah. I found mine in an antique mall. This was maybe 10 years ago, and mine was like $8 or $9 because my sleeve of my stack of tracks was really beat up. So it was someone just marked it down because it was kind of damaged, I think. So I got lucky there. But the book's in great shape. A lot of these, you can tell the people who bought them never really got into the
Yeah.
music books,
Oh,
so
the album in this thing, I pulled it out yesterday to listen to the Surfer Girl backing track to see if it was as I remember. It's just pristine. I mean, I don't think whoever owned it ever played it, and I probably played it once.
yeah.
And now I've got a disc, so if I want to hear it, that's what I'm playing it from.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so that was Stacko Tracks. Got another live one coming at you. The stars of the show from the USA, the Beach Boys. Now, Steve's holding up the European cover. I'll hold up the American reissue cover there. So, live in London, I went with Their Hearts Were Full of Spring as the only a cappella in this really, instrumental kind of album. They have the huge backing band, all that kind of stuff. To me, it really stood out. And to me, it also kind of slowed the album down. I just thought it was an unusual choice. But it wasn't their live set at the time, of course.
Yeah.
What do you think? Live in London.
Yeah, I went with the same one. I went with it on the basis that it was not a Beach Boy hit. It was a cover song that made it stand out from the rest. Really, lovely thing to hear, but definitely the odd choice out on that.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
also, that also kind of makes it like Lavender. It's the standout, but it's also maybe the reason you want to have it is you get to hear them do Their Hearts Were Full of Spring. You've heard them do everything else.
Oh, that's true. Of course, nowadays with the big 1968 digital set and stuff, that might be a little bit different. But yeah, you're right, because for a long time, that was the only place you could have heard it.
Yeah.
So, and speaking of live albums, we got now 1973, Beach Boys in concert, one of the few double albums. And unlike the Smile Sessions one, this one is if you have the 2 record set. Both records are full of music. So, Steve, you go first. What did you pick for in concert?
I hope the lawn mowing isn't making this too difficult to hear.
Nope, you're fine.
Okay. I went with We Got Love because it's the one track that, again, it's the one track nobody had heard. And it would be and at the time, that would have been a big selling point, I know, for me to get some, a Beach Boys song that I'd never heard before.
Okay. I guess if you have select copies of Holland, you might be able to hear it. I don't know.
Yes, very select. Yeah.
Yeah. So probably not ones you or I are ever gonna.
Yeah.
I went with Surfin' USA because Mike Love messes it up at one point. And I thought, could they maybe have used a different take? But I have to say that I might have to rethink that answer someday because the Carnegie Hall show, he messes it up the same way in that concert too.
Oh, I hadn't noticed that.
Yeah, he does I think it's the Santa Cruz and Trestles line. I think either
okay.
that or the San Onofre and Sunset line.
It's not the same take, is it?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they were recorded about a year apart, but he gets 2 of the places in Surfin' USA. He says that line twice instead of saying it once.
Oh, okay.
Never. I mean, admittedly, that's got to be pretty easy to do. With
yeah.
But yeah, that's always stood out to me because the rest of the album seems so professional and so so well done that one mistake always bugged me.
That's a really good call.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we didn't do too many like hits packages or things like that because we could probably make 20 videos if we go through all the compilation albums. But it is 50 years of Endless Summer.
Yeah.
So of course the tour this year, I know I went to 2 shows. Steve, I think you went to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tour this year, of course, was themed Endless Summer Gold, that kind of thing. So Steve, talk to me about Endless Summer. What do you think?
Yeah, it's another one that's a tough call. And I've been putting together, I want to do an episode on this in the fall and talk about 1974. So I've been looking at this album a lot. And I tell you, I couldn't come up with one. The best I could come up with is the 3 tracks from Summer Days and Summer Nights. Let Him Run Wild, Girl Don't Tell Me, and You're So Good to Me, as being not their greatest hits, where everything else on here is a greatest hit, although, obviously they didn't choose the single versions of those Help Me Rhonda and Be True to Your School. But those, I thought, as I kind of studied this, it's not one track, but those kind of stand apart by not being greatest hits.
Okay. Well, it's funny you mentioned single mixes because my picks were the 2 album mixes that were used, Help Me Rhonda and Be True to Your School. Because I think maybe not so much with Be True to Your School, but definitely with Help Me Rhonda, people would have expected the single one,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it kind of stood out. I like the album mix. I like the louder and quieter part at the end. I like the ukulele intro, that kind of thing. But I think it stands out because it's not the Rhonda you're expecting, I guess.
That's a good call.
Yeah. And then we know, of course, the rule of Beach Boys compilations: when one is a success, another one has to come right after it. So let's talk Spirit of America.
Now, here, I thought this one was easy.
All right, I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, it's Breakaway, because it's from a different time period. In fact, I haven't looked into it, but it started me wondering how Capitol even had rights to it, because I thought Warner had rights to everything post 1965 at this point.
If I interpret it correctly, it's only the tracks that were on albums.
Okay, I wondered if it was something like that.
Because I think non-album singles didn't count. I think they were still Capitol.
Okay.
If I understand, yeah, that's okay. Because
yeah, it occurred to me that might be it, but
yeah, because researching it for my Spirit of America video was extremely confusing, and I never really got definite answers on a lot of things. But yeah, Breakaway stands out. The other one that really stood out as a weird choice to me was Tell Me Why, the Beatles cover, because for an album that's all like Americana, decorated American flags and stuff, it was odd, I thought, to put a Beatles cover in there.
Yeah. That is interesting. Well, I hadn't thought of that, but I wonder if the Beatles were so hot during this period, if it was a choice that let's put something Beatley on here. I also thought when going back to the 3 on here that were from Summer Days and Summer Nights that weren't hits, that's what I thought their inclusion was probably about, is they were the most Beatlesque and the most sort of, in 1974, the most modern sounding tracks that they had access to, the most modern sounding things in 65, and the most Beatlesque. And I thought maybe that's why those were the choices here, was because it would make people think of the Beatles a little bit. And I wonder if Tell Me Why was similar in 75 when this came out. That's really good call, though. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's a good point about the Beatles sound, though, because I would have thought the Endless Summer ones were on there just because Summer Days and Summer Nights, the album, had been such a big success. I think it was number 2 or number 3 back in 1965. It charted pretty highly. So
it was a high charting, yeah.
Yeah, so I thought maybe that was about. I didn't think of that either. Yeah. So then this is my 8-track signed by Mike and Bruce too. So.
Wow, how cool!
Yeah.
That is so cool. That's the only Beach Boy album I actually have on 8-track.
There you go. I think I have 2 of them because this is one you can find at any 8-track bin.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to have like a sample of an 8-track, and I thought that was if you're gonna have one 8-track of the Beach Boys, that's the one to have somehow.
Yeah, I like that. So there is a 3rd installment to Endless Summer, and Steve, you said you're not too familiar with this one, but from 1982 we have Sunshine Dream. Did you get a chance to look at the?
Yeah, I didn't buy it at the time because I had everything. I'd already had my big coup with finding all the original albums, and so by 82 I already had everything on it, so I never picked it up. But I've got the track listing here so I can follow along. Okay. What's your thought?
All right, for mine, I picked There's No Other Like My Baby, which they do kind of not quite at the end of the album, but I mean, at the end, they do some of the more nostalgic songs, but this is a little bit earlier in the album. And as it's a party session, I don't think it quite fits with the rest of the album there. So I will say this is my favorite cover art of the 3, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, at least they got some photos.
Yeah, mine's pretty banged up there. I got this in Las Vegas, I think, years ago. But
oh yeah, I should pick it up these days.
All right. So What do you think? Sunshine Dream.
I went with How She Boogalooed It because I couldn't figure out why. I just couldn't figure out why they chose that one. It just does. It's not that outstanding a track. Um, there's everything else on there I can see. There's no other. I believe that was a B-side, right, to Little Girl I Once Knew
Yeah,
or
I think
Barbara Ann
so.
or something.
No,
So
Little Girl I Once Knew.
kind of. I mean, I see your point on it that being a party track and not quite, but yeah, How She Boogalooed It. I can't figure out why. I would have chosen pretty much anything else on Wild Honey probably before I got to How She Boogalooed It. Not that it's terrible or anything, but
Yeah.
it's not. I thought possibly it's because everybody gets a writing credit on it. I think apart from Brian, so that maybe it was a nice moneymaker for the band to have that included.
That's true. I didn't think of that. I thought maybe just because it was so short too, they could just kind of put it wherever
Maybe
because it's not
that
a
makes
very
sense.
long song. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but definitely some odd choices on this. You would have thought that Spirit of America would be more like this, but they probably couldn't do that with all the contractual stuff going on. So took a
Yeah.
few years, and nobody bought this, so it's the forgotten one of the three. So, oh well. Speaking of albums that maybe aren't forgotten but are certainly overlooked, let's jump ahead a year, 1983, and you and I both have.
Oh yeah.
For this, talk to me about Beach Boys Rarities.
Oh man, was I excited when this thing came out. Uh, just because we hadn't heard unreleased stuff before, and these were not, it's funny because there were so many, the Byron Priest book and so many places talked about all the unreleased Beach Boy tracks that were out there. And then we got things on this that were not even things that they had listed. So it was just like, wow, this is the tip of some great iceberg, which is actually what it turned out to be. Anyway, all that background aside, my choice, I thought the weird choice was the live version of All I Want to Do. It's just it's the only live track on it. Um, and basically because it's the only live track on it. I think they also have the wrong. They've got it recorded live at the London Palladium November 30th, and I think it should be December 1st is the actual
Uh,
show.
I have to think back to my Live in London and Rarities videos because yeah, I know that the dates are messed up for a lot of the Live in London stuff. Um, yeah, that was one, and the other one that always stands out to me is the Bluebirds Over the Mountain remix. It's because it's so unusual, that kind
Yeah,
of thing. It sounds like something's wrong with your speakers, kind of. It's
right,
got that
right. Well,
weird, the loud percussion.
they give you the original in one side of the headphones and the overdub in the other side.
Yep.
You're supposed to hit mono on your stereo so that it blends it to hear the Dutch version, which I don't even know if I have a mono button on my stereo
Mine doesn't.
anymore.
But even if I just put it on and play it, it still sounds kind of strange, with
Yeah, it was a
everything.
very weird choice. I don't know why they just
Yeah.
didn't give you the Dutch mix.
I don't know. And I have to say too, by today's standards, I think Cotton Fields would be the weird track on here just because it's available in so many other places by
Yeah,
now too. It's not really a rarity anymore, but certainly
yeah.
when the record came out, it would have been. Alrighty, moving right along. Now we got everybody's favorite. Steve and I were kind of cruel to this album in part two. So now we got to go back and talk about it.
Yes, I'm
Stars and Stripes.
still waiting for volume two.
They did that low cash thing a couple years ago.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Maybe that's a tease. Maybe it's coming up.
yeah. Was that ever released on anything except digitally?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
No, I wasn't that impressed by it, so I didn't look too
No,
hard.
no, but if there's a hard copy out there somewhere, I'd like to have it.
Yeah, I
I've got a lot
gotcha.
of stuff I'm not impressed with, believe me, over the years. Wouldn't be the first time I shelled out for something just to keep the collection complete.
Oh.
Anyway, what's your thoughts on this one? I thought this was a hard one.
Yeah, this is my least listened to of all the Beach Boys albums I think that I have. So my ultimate pick was I Get Around because to me they don't really showcase Sawyer Brown as much as they do as
Oh,
with the other artists. It feels a lot like just the Beach Boys in studio, which is kind of what I want, but they don't really showcase the people, the Sawyer Brown people as well, I thought.
yeah. Yeah, this was a hard call. I went with Timothy B. Schmidt and Caroline No, just because I don't think of Timothy B. Schmidt being a country artist.
Mm, okay.
But then I didn't know really. I honestly I didn't know who Kathy Truccoli or I guess it's Truccoli,
I'm not sure.
but she's a Christian pop singer, so she's not really country either. But anyway, Timothy B. Schmidt kind of stuck out to me as like he's not really country, but he's available and he's cool, and he's friends with Carl, and so we'll put him.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good pick. I wasn't really sure either, to be honest, because like I said, I think I've listed this thing maybe 4 or 5 times in the 15 years that I've had it. So,
Yeah,
so that was
I will say once it's on, it's always better than I remember it being. I mean, there's some
yeah.
stuff on there I can, but a lot of it is just these songs are so good. You you can't help but enjoy hearing them, even if they're not the preferred version.
Right, right. I mean, to me too, it always had an element of being kind of a cash grab, that they were
Oh,
trying to get country music fans to be Beach Boys fans, that
right.
kind of thing. But
Yeah.
then we'll say the Beach Boys do commit to it though. They're on every song. You can hear them on everything. It seems like production went at least fairly well. I haven't seen the whole Nashville documentary, but I know I've seen at least some of it. So I don't know. Interesting stuff.
I
Alrighty.
remember. I think I actually bought that documentary, and I don't know that I've ever watched it. I think it, I don't even remember whether it's on VHS or disc. Probably VHS, I guess, based on when it came out.
I think it was released on both, but I'm not sure of that.
Oh,
I mean, this thing's been out of print for almost 20 years now.
yeah, yeah.
So probably longer than that,
I
actually.
need to look around and see if I've got that documentary.
Yeah,
And
that'd be pretty cool.
I think I do.
Alrighty. Steve, we can probably squeeze one more in this video. What do you say?
Sure, let's do
And
it.
we can do a quick wrap up there with the rest of them. We got everyone else's favorite pseudo Beach Boys album here. Hi, this is Mike Love of the Beach Boys. Cool
Yeah,
cars and hot fun at the beach. 76. So yeah, Beach Boys Salute NASCAR. Not everyone even counts this one
yeah,
because it's kind of just like how many members of the group do you need for it to actually be a Beach
right.
Boys recording? But what do
Well,
you
it seems
think?
like I read somewhere that at some point they considered that three was enough, but
Oh,
bringing David Marks in is at this point is a bit of a ringer too. So, although I was really excited to see him there, I mean, he hadn't been with the Beach Boys in any sort of public way, I think, prior to this, and since back
he
in the day, right?
he did some 90s, mid 90s concerts when Carl started to become ill. I saw footage
Right.
of him playing with them in Germany in
Yeah. I
like
mean, I
the
know he
mid
sat in
90s.
with them from time to time,
Yeah.
but at least, as far as the public face or the, being on
Hmm.
a record.
I'm not
And,
sure offhand. Yeah. I don't
but I
know.
remember thinking that was cool. Oh, David Marks. Oh, that's kind of exciting.
Yeah. But what do you think? What stands out to you on this
Well,
wonderful automotive album?
I thought this was kind of an easy call. It's Little GTO,
Okay.
a song they never did before.
I mean, it was in the live set at the time, and honestly, I think that's the main reason to even buy this CD because I really like their version of Little GTO. I think
Yeah.
it sounds good. I picked Ballad of Old Betsy because it's really like the only ballad, and it kind of stands out with everything else being kind of more upbeat. Even Don't Worry, Baby. But
Right.
this,
And
I
more
don't
well
know.
known too.
Yeah, I just thought it was an odd choice. I don't know.
That's a good call. And yeah, again, it's the fact that the little GTO is on this is kind of the reason to get it in a way. But
And it does have its fans too. There are people that enjoy this CD. So I don't know. Alrighty. Hey, Steve, we are almost out of time for today. So what do you say we do a quick follow up to this another time? Sound good?
sounds great.
Alrighty. Hey,
Thanks
thanks
for
for
having
being
me
on.
on.
All right.
Always fun.
Fans, make sure you comment below. Check out Steve's channel if you haven't already. Make sure to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time for the epic part 4 of the weirdest Beach Boys songs. So long for now.